DDG episode 240. My name is Dave, and I'm joined by Michael? Question mark.
Probably, possibly. I don't really know. Audio seems to be kind of crazy. We have no idea if what we're talking about right now is actually going to make it into the future. But we'll see how that goes. We've been just 25 minutes of me fiddling around with audio.
Yeah, it's okay though. I mean, sometimes it's you, sometimes it's me. So I can't judge anybody. I have my own tech issues sometimes too. So
yeah. We sound good, Dave. I listen to us. We both sound clear. Discord is the problem right now, but it's not going to affect the stream or anything else.
So if there's a slight delay in Michael answering the question, or I have to repeat myself to Michael, just know that we're having some Snowmageddon Discord issues is what I'll call right now, because for those of you that maybe don't know, Michael lives in the Chicago area and I live in the Detroit area, and if you pull up the forecast on Wednesday night, December 12th, you just see this like sheet of blue image across the Great Lakes area, and that's called snow and ice and sleet.
Yeah. Crazy snow the morning and afternoon.
Yep.
Dave has that now, and I'm getting hit by the second wave of the snowstorm, which is, I think, heavier than the first wave, even though it wasn't supposed to happen.
More moisture driven, I believe. So it's like it's like that snowball, packable snow that hurts when you get hit by the snowball versus the snowball you throw in the air and it just kind of like flies into flurries.
So that's what we're dealing with, and it seems to our internet seems fine, but it seems like for some reason Discord is struggling, so we're just dealing with that.
Maybe they're using those Skype servers today, who knows.
Yeah. Oh, Skype. We should go back to Skype one day. Just
shut your mouth. All right, so we are Digital Days Gaming. We are a weekly podcast that posts Thursday morning, 6 a.m. Eastern time on podcast services. We also have a website, digitaldaysgaming.com. You can watch us live on YouTube. You can watch us live on Twitch. You can subscribe to us on Spotify, Podcast Addict, Apple Podcast, Google Play Podcast, whatever those things are. All of those are available. If you're able to leave us a review on however you listen to us, that is super helpful. If you're not subscribed on any of those podcast services, please consider subscribing so you'll get all the weekly downloads that we do. You'll get alerted if we do a special episode, any of that stuff. And everything else can be checked out in the show notes. Our Discord, our Facebook page, the social medias, everything is there. And just because I don't know how Discord's going to handle, we're going to jump into the news.
Yeah, so we missed last week. We missed last week, right, Dave? I can't remember. We did.
You did. It was very light news.
Yeah.
It just because coming off of the Xbox Developer Direct, and we were hearing rumors of a state of play, and they didn't happen. And I think we just had some scheduling conflicts going on too, as I'm getting ready to go on vacation. So whenever you get ready to go on vacation, you need a vacation to go on vacation.
You get punished from work.
Well, no, I'm the Punisher, so I can't punish myself. Yeah. But
you can, but it's a little kinky.
Yeah, Jesus Christ, it doesn't work, but he gets his jokes in there, of course.
Yeah, got it.
Yeah, so we did miss. It was a little light on the Developer Direct was later in the week, like I want to say like 10 days ago from Xbox, and now we're getting kind of like sandwiched with the state of play, which ultimately means, and I know they said they're doing a special one in April for the Switch too, but Nintendo's kind of due. And before April 2nd.
For like one last second. For Switch cleanup.
Yeah, for something
unless they're going to go full on crazy for the Switch. Yeah,
but I feel like they've been pretty quiet. So
they're due for an indie Direct at the very minimum.
But we do have some release date news and some selling news and a state of play recap. So let's jump into it.
Yeah, the reason I brought up last week is there wasn't a lot of news until basically yesterday, today. Yeah. So a little light before we get into the state of play, which is going to eat up the most of our time. The first bit of news we have is Elden Ring Night Rain has a release date of May 30th. They are doing a network test this weekend. I believe it's like pre-order based, and I believe you could sign up on their website as well to try and get access to it. It's perfect to have that be Valentine's Day weekend to do an Elden Ring multiplayer experience thing.
Hey, sweetie, let's go play a game together.
and you know what? It might work. Yeah. We talked about kinks earlier, so this could fit right in with that. But yeah, no, this is just this is actually getting better received than I thought it would, because when it was first announced, everyone was kind of just like, what does this mean?
Yeah.
But the previews have been pretty good for it so far that I have read, though I don't think there's been any full previews. It's just been people that have like played it a little bit,
Right.
Sharing some minor thoughts. But yeah, no, this is coming May 30th. It's really them just getting this out faster than I thought they would. I wasn't expecting this to be a hit, and it probably will be a hit, but also I wasn't expecting it to release as quick.
Yeah, you're talking about a 6-month turnaround from announcement, pretty much. Like, I mean, like I think the first time we knew something was going on with Elden Ring, but then at the Video Game Awards, they said, "Yep, it's a thing, and it's a multiplayer, and it's a standalone expansion?" Question mark.
Yeah, I think the standalone.
But you still need Elden Ring.
No. I believe it is fully standalone.
Okay.
Yeah, includes base game.
Oh, that was the DLC that
version.
was up for the award. I'm getting that. So like this is kind of like the third branch of Elden Ring, the base game, the expansion, and now this multiplayer thingy.
Spin-off thing.
Yeah.
So we'll see how this goes. This is good for From Software. We know that they're trying to be acquired, so if they get another hit with this, they'll probably increase the price for their acquisition of their parent company. Which has gone pretty quiet because I imagine it's just under like review right now, the acquisition talks. So this is just a big thing to come out. And after the state of play, I realized that like there may not be any crazy like bangers coming, but there's a consistency that we're seeing for this year of releases, a lot of good AA stuff and
I think
experimental stuff.
That's what you and I both want. I mean, we'll talk about our impressions of the state of play at the end of it when we recap it. But I mean, we have to give the same kudos to one company that we give to the other company. Like we've talked about Xbox's cadence of like Avowed, and I mean I can't think of it, or Indiana Jones, Avowed, and there's a couple other things that are hitting like March, April, May.
South of Midnight.
Yeah. And so now we have to give PlayStation the same props as if they can release something cool, air quotes cool, like every 6 to 8 weeks, 4 to 6 weeks. Like this is what everybody's been asking for, is kind of like more bite-sized content, smaller size content, not necessarily bite-sized content. And if we can do this, and something like Elden Ring kind of fits like right in there.
Yeah.
So
it fits right in there. It's coming from a AAA studio, but I imagine it's not their A team.
Yeah.
Their A team is Miyazaki, and he's probably doing something bigger.
This is a game that requires 4 to 6 weeks of players' attention, and I think it's a win if it does that.
Yeah. And doing like Elden Ring or Souls games have always had co-op elements, but this one being focused on it, I imagine there could be some cool things that they can use for
4 to 6 weeks at the minimum. I'm not expecting this to fail. Like this is a brand franchise for a high plethora of players. So is that player base going to be multiplayer focused? History shows the answer to that is not always, but we'll see if the gameplay's there.
Yeah, so we'll see how everything translates for them. The next bit of news, Alan Wake 2 has sold more than 2 million copies. So Remedy, they're their own company, so they release their own financial statements so investors in their company can know about stuff like this. They're like private public sort of thing. So they announced that basically Alan Wake 2 has sold over 2 million copies, which means they now can start earning royalties and money from every copy sold after the fact. Basically, the 2 million copies were them getting the dev costs and the marketing costs paid for. So now everything after that is good for them. They specifically used the word royalties, which means whoever was publishing it, I think Epic Games, they got their money back. So now they're going to be able to earn more money for the studio now. They also talked about what's going into production. So Control 2 is now going into full production, and it is joining Max Payne 1 and 2 and FBC Firebreak, that shooter game, in full production. So now they have 3 games in full production, which makes sense because they wrapped up the Alan Wake DLC last year. And they, that means one team is ready to start on another thing. And I also think this would be good news for Firebreak and Max Payne 1 and 2, because you're probably pulling people that are early development of those games now, are as those games move further and further in production, you can start moving people from that team onto this one to start up Control 2. So Remedy's staying busy. I love this transparency from a studio, letting you know exactly where they are in development of their games. And it's good for them. Alan Wake 2, 2 million copies. Big publishers would scoff at those numbers and be like, this is a failure. But for an independent studio, this is pretty good.
Yeah. I think that them kind of like showing these numbers off and talking about this publicly and saying that, hey, we've recouped our investment is always a good thing for a small self-published company. Remedy's not huge. And I think it also means it's, a little bit more primed for potential PS Plus subscription or what do you call it? Game Pass. Sorry, my Aji just jumped in, and Aji was asking me about the release date for. Today he was cutting my hair, and he's asking me about the release date of the Elden Ring DLC. I'm like, I don't know, I haven't heard. It's like, I'm like, oh, now I have. So, yeah, but like this is, this is where you might see a deal, and it might be a combination of Alan Wake 1 and 2, and it, I mean, I know we're talking about February right now, but these games kind of hit their strides in like September, October, in the fall, like Halloween time. I could see this as a really kind of like a kudos thing at the end of an Xbox showcase or at the end of a state of play. Hey, PS, because they did it a little bit in today's state of play. Hey, PS Plus members, go play Alan Wake 1 and 2 free or as part of your catalog now. So like yeah, pretty soon.
And they could also pivot into doing like a Game of the Year edition. Though I do think their physical edition included the DLC somehow. But maybe they can press that all on one disc. And just kind of go from there, kind of milk it a little bit more, do like a second stretch for this game, which would probably just include putting it on one of the subscription services. Yeah. Whether it's Game Pass, PlayStation, or even Amazon Prime, which I'm assuming that pays out
this,
something.
This ends up being an Epic, especially with their relationship with Epic, a free game on Epic for spring break deals or something. I don't know, whatever Epic does on there.
Yeah. And then what do you think about just them kind of giving us insight on like where games are in development? Letting us know what full production is, and also how busy Remedy is.
I'm for it, but then at the same time I get concerned, like to your point, like which Elden Ring team this is, working on the Elden Ring multiplayer. So which Remedy team is this? How many? Like, is this all of Remedy? And they're just kind of I don't know if there's 100 people working at Remedy or 20 over here, 20 over there, 20 over there, or does like Remedy have a development Remedy A team, like letter A team, and then they're working on Control 2, and then the other ones are remakes, so I don't really know how much like resources that really involves. Like to your point, it seems like when companies are in we need to release some kind of content mode, we get some remakes, so that's always a good thing. And everything else other than Control 2 appears to be a remake. GBC Firebreak is new.
That's a new thing. That's like their multiplayer game, I believe. Yeah. They showed that during the Game Awards or during Gamescom.
Okay.
That one is one of those ones I imagine doesn't take too much of the team. That seems like something you kind of just have some people working on some new tools and like some advancements.
For sure.
Just as a project.
The two remakes probably aren't too enticing because they're also connected to Take-Two with the Max Payne.
They're working with Rockstar.
Okay,
specifically for this. So they could be expensive. I mean, it is Take-Two's parent company. So it could be an expensive project, but who knows like what resources Rockstar is allowing them to have or Take-Two's allowing them to have. I did look it up. They have 360 employees.
Okay.
Which is a pretty sizable studio for independent studio. So like they can divide that number up pretty well between like 2.5 games, 3 games, depending on how big they're going to go with like that Firebreak game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. Yeah. So I mean, I love the transparency from it. I think in this day and age with the games, like the transparency needs to be there, just because there's they're trying to get people to work for them. Like whether it's remote, whether it's public, and so if they enjoyed Control 1 and they're still saying, hey, we're still working on Control 2, we're still looking for some people. Oh, I really like that. I should check that out.
Yeah. And I think like in terms of like the remakes that they're working with, I think it's a smart save bet for them to be doing Max Payne 1 and 2, because there is like a hunger to see those games remastered because they were pretty creative during the PS2 era and were limited by the hardware. So them getting another shot at 1 and 2 could be enough to maybe get a Max Payne 4 later down the road, which I would imagine is like probably the ultimate goal for like a Remedy of just like, hey, we want to do cool new things. Or maybe just ignore Max Payne 3 existed, because I know that's the one they like. Max Payne 3 is a good game, but it wasn't a Remedy game, if I remember correctly. So
Mhm.
it could be one of those things where they're like, hey, we want to reset like the timeline and work, from there. But yeah, I wish we got this from like other companies. Like, it's funny how like some publicly traded companies do not share this much detail
Right.
in terms of production. But I guess since they need to kind of more openly ask for money
Yeah,
from
but
partners,
is
they
Remedy
have to
publicly traded, or are they owned and they seek investments?
seek investments.
Okay.
They might be publicly traded in some aspects, but
Yeah.
for the most part, they are working for partnerships and like need to
Yeah.
let people know.
They have an owner.
Yeah.
Okay.
They have an owner, I believe.
Okay.
Unless they're on the European market, I don't know.
Okay.
I should know, but I don't. But yeah, that is what's going on with Remedy. Again, kind of wish more companies did
Yeah,
this.
I agree. So.
But let's talk about the thing that's going to take up the most time, our main event, and that is the state of play, which we were just talking about like last week or 2 weeks ago of like they're due for a state of play and it should happen soon. And was it yesterday in the afternoon or morning? They're like,
Yeah.
hey, we're doing one tomorrow. And
We
not
had
to spoil.
planned to record on Tuesday. Like,
Yeah, we're like, we need to get back on our Tuesday recording schedule. And then PlayStation's like, hold on now.
you gotta wait till Wednesday.
What? Yeah. So this one actually was a pretty decent one for state of plays. This is almost what PlayStation needed right now, for the most part.
Yes and no.
So we're yes and no. In terms of showing nothing the last couple months to
I agree.
hey, here's
Yeah.
something, this was pretty
So
good.
let's just start right off the bat, though. Like, I'm sorry, and comparing it to an Xbox Developer Direct, I don't want to steal your thunder or whatever you had going on here planned. I know you run this, but the Housemarque cannot be Housemarque's 2026 game cannot be your marquee show of the event. I'm not saying it was the marquee event. I'm not saying it was the marquee thing that was shown, but that is what they ended their event with. And right off the bat, like nothing from Insomniac, nothing from Naughty Dog again, which I know we just saw something from Naughty Dog, but maybe even a more extended version of what we just saw. And like, it's just, it just didn't do anything. Like no Wolverine, no, like there's I'm getting the things that you haven't, to your point, Sony hasn't talked in so long or shown into anything in so long. And we still don't really know what the marquee PlayStation first party title is going to be this holiday.
Well, from my perspective, I do think Housemarque, from my perspective, because I like Housemarque games and I liked Returnal,
Okay.
I think that was a good February end of show thing.
Okay.
This is under the assumption that they will continue the pattern of June is when we get like, hey, here's our big holiday game that we're showing off. If they don't do anything in June that has like a big game for the holidays, then yes, you can say like this was not the way to end this one.
But nothing about Ghosts? Nothing?
I think that's going to get its own state of play.
That's fine, but not even another additional trailer? Or they sat there and let both Randys from Gearbox talk about they're getting their own state of play, but they didn't talk about Ghost? Like,
because Borderlands needs the advertisement.
I know Borderlands does.
I don't think Ghost needs that. I think they're perfectly fine blowing up Ghost on their own.
Okay.
For like a summer release. What is it, like a June release?
They just said 2025. That's all they said.
Yeah. Which could mean that is their holiday game,
right?
Which is why they would save it for like their June showcase. Mm-hmm. So
not even a tease, like, hey, come see us in 2 months for Ghost stuff. Like I like something I thought would have been there, but I get what you're saying. It's just at the point of where, with as much optically for you and I, for me, with this more me, I guess, as much games as a service graveyard that they've had this last 6 or 7 months. They could have thrown somebody a first player, single player bone of
they did, and
not
that was Saros,
not a rogue. I didn't enjoy Returnal. Quality.
I know I also don't think you gave Returnal enough time.
I agree. I don't give very many games enough time period. So
Returnal took me a while before I got into a flow and I enjoyed it. But this does look high quality. I think it was intentional that when the dev came from Housemarque, it was like, this is a single player experience. Definitely felt like one of those things where it's like fucking hit single player during your speech. So I think this looked really good, really high quality. It might as well just be a Returnal sequel, but I guess they're just like, hey, I guess Returnal 2 sounds horrible as like a
Maybe,
title.
yeah.
But you think they want some of that brand recognition that Returnal has built up, because Returnal did build up a little bit of a reputation. But this looks super high quality. The actor, who I'm forgetting the name of, looked very familiar. But yeah, you're on a off-world colony, which is funny because that's Intergalactic's kind of shtick, a little bit like that. But you did get glimpses of stuff of just like, okay, we're gonna get the house marked bullet hell that we love from it. So
I guess me personally as a fan, I'm slightly disappointed that I would hope, I'm still holding out hope for it, but I like the top down. Like I would like, there's still a part of me that wants some like a Dead Nation upscale, you know, like the twin stick that they were doing for such a long time, and for them to go the direction that they've gone as a fan, it's not holding my attention.
Yeah, I can see that. I think for a February state of play, it was a good way to kind of.
No, I'm not demeaning the state of play. Again, they showed some really cool stuff. Like they showed some things that I'm interested in, and I was very pleased with the overall state of play. It was just when you have the number one hardware selling company talking about their software, and then their software is not their first party software is not there except for one thing. Maybe two, if you want to count what Ben's doing. Like it's, and I don't really even think Ben's touching that, by the way. So
they might, just so they have something to do.
Yeah.
But yeah, we'll jump into some of their stuff, some of the stuff right now. I'm just gonna go through stuff that I think we'll both be interested in talking about. So if we skip stuff like Five Nights at Freddy's, that's
sorry.
Why. One thing Dave would be interested in: Digimon Story Time Stranger.
I don't hate Digimon. It's a kind of like not really.
Were you a Digimon, Yu-Gi-Oh, Pokemon kid?
None of the above. I would say if anything, there was a Digimon Mega Man, something like crossover. I feel like, I still remember something like Mega Man Digital or something like that. Like and that was similar. But I mean, I know what all three of those are that you said. But I never really was I never really was into those. I was kind of in that gap. That's the gap in age between you and I, where things kind of just shifted. Like,
yeah, you had He-Man, I had Power Rangers.
I'm not that old.
4-year window. Okay. All right, so I'm gonna go through some stuff that seemed interesting. We got another look at Hell Is Us plus a release date, September 4th, 2025. This is that it's like post-apocalyptic sci-fi game. Looked really cool. This is a thing where we're starting to get release dates. I like that we're getting release dates now in February, and we got a lot of release dates over the last couple of days. But Hell Is Us was something that popped. I still am not a fan of the name. It doesn't really tell me anything about the game, and I'm sure when I said Hell Is Us right now, Dave had to probably scroll through the list right now. Of like,
that's exactly what I'm doing, because I'm trying to remember.
Yeah,
and I'm still not seeing it. So.
If you look at the PlayStation link, it is like towards.
Oh, okay. There's two links in
Hell
here.
Is Us
I got you.
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
Can't do that. To
I
me.
put two links
that's
because
not fair.
I like
Can't
the different
do that.
Yeah. Well, if you go with the IGN link, I'm starting from the bottom. If that helps.
No, it doesn't. But that's fine.
Okay. We got another look at the Midnight Walk, which is stop motion claymation game that's coming to PS5 and PSVR 2 on May 8th of this year. This looked really cool the second time. I love like claymation stuff in video games. I love that extra little bit of like craft, especially with how hard stop motion stuff can be, and I can't imagine how hard it is to do with a video game. That's coming out. I did like that they kind of just announced some PSVR 2 stuff in here, but they didn't do like a whole little section of like, here's the PSVR 2 section that you can check out.
They just kind of just said PS5/PSVR 2. Like,
yeah, which might not be good for PSVR 2 owners, but as someone who doesn't own a VR 2, I like that they just kind of mixed them into the thing. And also we saw games that weren't exclusive to VR 2. You could also play them on the traditional console. We also got the next Pixel Junk game, which is called Dreams of Another, and it's coming out in 2025. Bion is leading this game, so you know the music's going to be really good. Feel like it's been a while since we got to talk about Pixel Junk. They were so dominant in the PS3, a little bit in the PS4, and I kind of don't know what they've been doing really the last couple years. This one is super weird. Everything kind of looks like a cloudy dream, and you're interacting with the world with a gun. So very weird.
Oh, that's Pixel Junk?
Yes, that's Pixel Junk.
Okay. The one that looks like the Dreams kind of game thing?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's Pixel Junk. They had Bion come out after the trailer and just say like, hey, you're interacting with the world with a gun, but you're using it to like shape and change the environment. So they just wanted to be like, hey, I think their thing was like, without creation, there's no creation without destruction. So they wanted to explain like that visual you got when you first saw the trailer of just like, what the fuck is this? I'm on board for anything Pixel Junk. This looks significantly different than some of their other stuff that they've been doing. But I could be into this.
Yeah, and like you said, like you mentioned earlier, like this is kind of just woven into PSVR as well, the VR 2.
Yeah, I believe so. Yeah,
it is. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it was pretty
which is cool.
So.
Yeah. The next thing that we saw was Supermassive Games Directive 8020, which is coming out this October. So this is the Intel Dawn devs,
the Dark Pictures game.
Yeah, anthology. So this is the sci-fi one. I believe we've seen this once or twice at some things last year. Still looks great quality. This was one of the trailers though. They have a very specific way they do like skull shapes and faces that just don't look right to me.
Yeah.
And always take me out of their games. But definitely is dripping with atmosphere.
Yeah, I respect the efforts. I respect what they're doing, and they know their audience, and they nail their audience. It's just not for me.
Yeah. We'll move on to this next thing, which was something that wasn't for me when it was last shown, but it's Split Fiction, which is that.
Well, because I think some of it is the presenter. I love him.
Yes, 100%.
I love him. Like I love that he's behind his game, but
Joseph Ferris.
Yeah, your game is gorgeous, and your concept that you're doing, you have nailed the concept that your studio does of the split screen classic 2-player co-op game. Like this even got Angela's attention, like while she's watching. So
a way better introduction than what it got before, which was
because he wouldn't shut up at the VGAs.
Yes, and he was making jokes and going off script the entire time, and was explaining stuff that made it feel like he's explaining stuff to children. This was like, here's the game, here's the voice acting in the game.
Here's the two characters that are two completely different people that are being interwoven into the same world.
Yeah. And this looks significantly better. I was actually more into this than I was before. If you remember during the Game Awards, my whole thing was like, man, I really want to see this game without him talking over it.
And now you got it.
And now I got it. and now I'm looking at this. Yes, 100%. And now I'm like, okay, cool. March 6th is coming up soon. This is sooner than I was expecting it to be.
And it does that game code thing, by the way. Like you buy it once and a friend code. Yeah. So super cool.
Yeah, so Split Fiction is now on my list of stuff, and I'm realizing the first 3 months of this year for me are packed, which is
filling up.
So much better than what it was last year.
But I will mention, I believe you have to play this game with somebody, whether they're next to you or online with you. But there is no option to play this game by yourself. So
which is fine.
You're right. Now I know. I mean, you have somebody. I have somebody. My wife can play for like 10 minutes at a time.
Owen's getting to that age. Maybe.
Yeah, but I think that, I don't know. So.
Actually, can you stream Owen and Angela playing
Oh my gosh.
We'd
be partnered in a minute. We'd be memes in a week.
Yeah. I just want to see who's going to, and you're just sitting there, just in the corner, just
Popcorn.
No, you're just getting frustrated. I'm just like, oh God, nothing's going right. This was at the beginning. We had another Monster Hunter Wilds trailer, and for the love of God, I'm probably picking up Monster Hunter Wilds, but please stop showing me Monster Hunter Wilds.
I think that this, personal opinion, I think this trailer was shoehorned into this as this like at the very beginning, because like I watched the YouTube replay. Like as soon as I hit play, I don't even think I had like a state of play logo. It just turned on right away, and I was like, okay. So the only reason I think it was shoehorned in there is because the beta was the weekend that the PSN was down for like a day.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I
And
feel
I
like
think they
they're
extended it a day, but
yeah, I feel like this is just like, oh, please, just don't forget we're coming out, please. I kudos, like I'm with you. The game needs to come out, like, and stop showing me the game. I'm pretty slightly interested enough that I might pick it up. If enough of my friends list is picking it up, I might pick it up. But something that I love as a games as a service fan, they're already talking about spring and summer content. So like kudos. Like even my wife's like, she was watching it, Angela's like, is the game out? And I'm like, no. She's like, why are they talking about additional content? I go, because it's their service game. Like this is
gotta treat it like an investment for people.
So they gotta show what you're getting for your $70 or $80 or whatever version of the game. So now they're showing the skins. They're showing some cool monsters. They're showing the additional monsters coming in the spring. They're teasing what's coming in the summer. So like free title updates. Like they know what they're doing. Capcom, right? Capcom?
Yes, Capcom.
Yeah. Capcom, for whatever reason, lately has been hitting their stride, but they've always handled Monster Hunter well. Always.
Yeah. They take pride in Monster Hunter, and it shows. Actually, they take pride in everything now at this point, we have to say.
The last couple of years, yes, but like prior to that, like Monster Hunter was their thing. Like, oh, Capcom's in a world of hurt. Okay, here you go, snap fingers, Monster Hunter. Oh, we're okay now.
Yeah, Monster Hunter on PSP and 3DS kind of carried them for a little bit.
Yep.
The next game I'm going to talk about is Lost Soul Aside. This is it got a release date, new gameplay trailer. This is another one of the China Hero project from PlayStation. This is I think this is how we got Stellar Blade from that same like initiative, if I'm not mistaken. I could be wrong on that.
It looked really cool, but I don't know if there's something about, and I personally, there's something about that voice acting or that cadence of how they talk that sometimes just kind of I'm having a hard time explaining it. It just kind of turns me off. I'm like, just say your sentence. Like,
it is definitely how a lot of like Eastern games present dialogue and stuff like that. Like people have the same problem with like how Kingdom Hearts presents dialogue. There's something to how dialogue is broken out or translated.
Just watching him traverse, the character traverse, where he's like pulls wings out, then he's surfing on something, then he does a swirl kick, and my mind immediately goes to like, how the hell do you control that? Like,
you know what's funny? Like this and several other games that we saw here just kind of show you just like how hard like the Asian developed games are holding up PlayStation and Nintendo, which I know sounds dumb because those are two Japanese companies.
Yeah.
But I'm just talking about like the PS4 was basically built on the shoulders of Western developers.
Yeah.
Like every big franchise, everything that sold like crazy was Western developers, but everything got way too big. And now we're in this thing where we're waiting so much for like Western games to release. And then this thing is just showing you like there's so many games coming out this year to PlayStation that are being developed by Asian studios. And they've hit a stride and they aren't worried about budget. Like Lost Soul Aside, some of those cutscenes look like PS3 era cutscenes or like character models, but they're not letting like budget like hold back their ambition in terms of what we're seeing in terms of like the gameplay, the world building. It looked a little odd here and there. It didn't look as polished as like a Stellar Blade was, but they're at least trying something and they're going to actually release a game.
Yeah.
So this is one of those things where looking throughout this and seeing like which companies were developing stuff and which companies or developers had release dates, it just kind of shows you just there is something kind of wrong with Western developed games right now in terms of how long we're waiting for those games to be announced, be released, and all that stuff. But yeah, this looked pretty good. I don't know if it's for me, but it is. Like Stellar Blade was okay.
Yeah.
This could be okay. The only reason I compare it to Stellar Blade is because it seems gameplay wise like not that different. From
I agree. That's a good. It's a good comp right now for sure.
Yeah. A game that I already forgot about, but it was it's a first-person shooter game. Metal Eden is coming May 6th. So this is just like another shooter game that was shown. I don't think there was enough personality necessarily that I saw from this game, but it was there. I guess I can say.
Yeah, I at first I was trying to figure out because I think somebody before I had watched this, somebody had like messaged me or said something that said like kind of said like Returnal 2, and this was near the end of the event, and I was like, Are they doing first person? Like at first, I thought this was. It kind of gave me just a little bit of that Returnal vibe, and then I realized it wasn't. So then I was like, "What is this?" And nothing in here looks super compelling though.
Yeah, game pretty snappy in terms of like, hey, is this a competent first person shooter? It's like, yeah, probably a very competent first person shooter. But there wasn't really anything that I saw that I'm just like, this has a chance to really compete against the Marvel Rivals and whatever the fuck other multiplayer games are out right now. So I'm not too sure what the hook is for this. It just looked like a competent sci-fi shooter, which could work out for this game. But in the world we live in now, I don't know. So we'll move on from that one. Shinobi.
This looks so cool.
Art of Vengeance. Yeah, this was one of those ones where I'm like, oh, Dave's going to love this and pick this up. This is coming August 29th.
Yeah.
Art style looks fantastic. It's being made by the Streets of Rage developers, or Streets of Rage 4 developers, which if everyone remembers, Streets of Rage 4 was actually a pretty goddamn good sequel for Streets of Rage. So yeah,
I don't even know who Shinobi is, but this game just looked fun and cool. Like...
yeah. So Shinobi, old school franchise, hey, it's back.
I recognize the name, but I have no correlation to it. So
yeah, WWE had Paul Heyman come out, which was kind of funny to see Paul Heyman with the PlayStation background.
Yeah.
They made a social hub. They made PlayStation Home for the next WWE 2K game.
This is like, okay, cool. Like, good kudos, like you're evolving your wrestling franchise, but this is just like they just took the assets from NBA 2K My Court and put it in WWE. Cool, good. Kudos.
There was a lot of brands that you can buy official merch from.
Yeah, 100%. And there's a lot of people that want this. They want their character. They want to dress them how they want. They want to wrestle how they want. They like to whip people's butt online. It's a thing, and it's coming to...
I don't know. I try and stay connected to the wrestling space, but like the wrestling video game space is something I've never been able to get into.
Yep.
So I don't know if there's an audience for this. They said you can have 50 people in the hub at one time.
That's crazy.
I thought it would be cool if there was more, because they showed like rings set up around the hub where you can have matches. I think
a mall,
cool,
like an outdoor strip mall or something. Yeah.
That we're watching. But yeah, we'll see where this is. I wouldn't be surprised if this version that's coming out with 2K25 is very bare bones, and this will be something that they just work on and fix over the years.
Yeah.
To be something special, because WWE, they think they're a real sport, so they like to release it yearly, even though it's to their detriment.
She's like money.
Yep. And then when 2K26 comes out and you have to buy your Nike shoes and your whatever
Jordan
t-shirts
hoodie,
that they were selling, you're gonna do it just like you do in 2K every year. We got some DLC coming for Stellar Blade. We got some DLC coming from Lies of P. That's pretty cool. Lies of P was like one of those things that people have been wondering, like, what is the studio going to do? Because the game came out 2 years ago.
Sounds about right. Year and a half. Yeah.
So the DLC is going to be a prequel coming out this summer. So that should be pretty big. The Stellar Blade one, I didn't get that was a big.
No, it's like a new
DLC,
boss and new outfit.
New boss, yeah.
So.
And then coming to PC sometime.
That was more the bigger story.
This year.
So.
Yeah. Oh, the modders are gonna love that game. So Sonic Racing
gonna make her look even more attractive.
Yeah, they're gonna uncensor it. You seen the Reddit people freaking out that there was censorship with that game. Sonic Racing. This is a game that modders really love. Or like they love Sonic. I'm not gonna go there. But yeah, Sonic Racing is coming out.
It's Mario Kart Sonic. Like.
They've always been pretty fun. Not quite Mario Kart level, but
well, here's the deal. Like I can only give you the perception that I have of my 9-year-old son, and he was supposed to go to bed, and we were watching this, and he turned around, sat down, and watched it, and I said, "Oh, and you have Mario Kart on the Switch?" He goes, "Yeah, but this is Sonic. This is better." Like
Sonic
right now. Like. Because Mario is kind of
mini furries forever, so like.
But this is kind of the ebb and flow of the world of children. Like, there's not really anything current with Mario right now, like in front of his face. There's not an Odyssey. There's not a great 2D platformer. There's not, so Sonic's movie just came out, So like he's front and center. This is really good timing for them right now.
Yeah, there's 3 givens in life: death, taxes, and Sonic the Hedgehog. That is just how things go. This will be huge. This will probably sell better than any other Sonic racing game has sold before because of how well the movies have been doing.
Yep.
So this is probably Sega was like, what can we bust out this year to capitalize?
Yeah, I'm waiting for like Sonic Stars, like a Mario Party style game.
Yes, something has to be on the way.
Yep.
I'm gonna skip that. Okay, so Mind's Eye.
This looks so cool.
Yeah, we got a gameplay trailer, a summer 2025 release window. This is a sci-fi shooter, third-person shooter game that honestly I thought it looked okay, but then when they revealed that it was the Leslie Benzies game, I was just like, oh shit, I might.
So the first piece that they showed, I was like, okay, tell me more.
Yeah.
Like I want more. And then somebody came out and talked.
I honestly thought it was a Detroit sequel.
Yeah, and then somebody came out and was talking, and then they said, hey, we're going to show you gameplay. And I'm like, so what you just showed me before wasn't gameplay? And the movement they showed of like the character going behind the car, and it gave me Deus Ex, a little bit of Deus Ex vibes, and I think it's the 101 Interactive team. This is the Hitman team?
No. This is Leslie Benzies' studio.
Okay, well, their symbol was 101 or IOI.
I believe that they're publishing it.
Okay. Okay. Sorry, I saw a logo that looked familiar that I affiliated with Hitman, so my apologies.
Yeah, I can double check, but because I do remember seeing like the IOI Interactive. I was trying to figure out what that was.
Yeah, it's developers Build a Rocket Boy.
Yes, and specifically they had Leslie Benzies come out. The Benz is basically the person who's been putting out or been helping Rockstar release all their games.
Okay.
And is basically a legend within Rockstar. It was a big deal when Benzies left Rockstar, that, you know, they're like, hey, that was the person that, like, if you needed something fixed, you would get that person to make sure it gets fixed. Yeah, so IO Interactive is working.
Okay. Sorry, I saw something that immediately affiliated me to, but like I'm looking at this, I have it muted, but I'm looking at him like
they're publishing it, apparently.
Okay. The driving, it looks a little wonky. But
like Grand Theft Auto.
Yeah.
So.
But then like some of the elements where they're shooting and blowing up the car or sliding behind the car for cover or using the environment, it looks interesting. Like it's doing something different and but not super unique. So like this is, I'm intrigued.
So like from a gameplay standpoint, as soon as, you know, I you know, got the studio name, got the pedigree of who's behind it. It was immediately stuff started to click into place. It was like, okay, the shooting looked not great at first, and then also the driving didn't look great. But then it's just like, oh, it's from someone behind Grand Theft Auto. It's like, okay, that looks like Grand Theft Auto shooting. That looks like Grand Theft Auto driving. But it looks like they're doing more with story than what Grand Theft Auto
and destructibility. So
yes. So my interest went from like, oh, that looks okay, to like, okay, I'm intrigued about it. There is definitely a quality level to some of the stuff we saw that I feel like for a studio's first game could only happen if it comes from someone who like made a shit ton of money at Rockstar, and probably was very like not stressed in getting funding for their game because they could just be like, hey, I'm one of the spearheads for the biggest franchise in the history of gaming. So this looked interesting. I want to see where it goes. This is another one of those games where like the character models, their faces just looked off to me, and it'll take me a while to get used to.
Yeah, especially with coming out in 6 months, there's not going to be very much more polished into it.
Yeah, but what they have there looked intriguing.
Yeah, I agree.
And could be something big. And also, hey, you know what? They probably want to hit their summer release date if Grand Theft Auto is actually coming out this holiday. You know,
get my game up before them. Hurry up.
Yeah, especially like it's going to be hard. It's going to be a hard sell for anything, let alone like a competing thing for that. But yeah, more sci-fi games, the better. We got a PS Plus update. Jedi Survivor's coming, and some Armored Core games are coming to premium. No big deal there. We got this is probably one of the more baffling things, and I really needed to check the director's Twitter account because anytime this game comes out, the director has some spicy stuff to say, and I'm talking about Days Gone Remastered.
Well, back up for a second.
Yeah.
Do you have any interest in this Lost Record thing, which I feel like they kind of like just like started bringing episodic content back into games again.
I know episode 1 released. I want to say it already had released.
I thought they were saying episode 1 is releasing. Oh no, they're adding it to Plus, so it's already out.
Yeah,
okay.
They're adding a Plus. Yeah,
okay.
I honestly haven't heard too much about it.
Okay.
And I still need to play the last Life is Strange game.
Okay.
But I'm scared to play it because Life is Strange 1 was like such a meaningful game that I don't know if I
hadn't heard of this, so I got the vibe that this was coming day and date to Plus. So that's my apologies.
Yeah, it's one of those things where like I want to love their games more, but it just feels more and more that every time they release like different games that it's like Life is Strange was lightning in a bottle that they haven't been quite able to capture. But let's go back to Days Gone getting a PS5 remake, as well as upgrades for PS4 players and PC players for $10, as well as new features and a Horde Assault mode. Days Gone getting a remaster, Dave. I swear to God, a couple weeks ago, I joked about them doing this. We were talking about Days Gone sales numbers for whatever fucking reason. And I was like, they might as well give it a go because it sold 9 million copies.
Yeah. I never finished this game. So $10 to maybe... I know that some stuff was patched later, but $10 to hopefully maybe means like slightly cleaned up audio, a little bit more flow with the way that the game feels. Sometimes I felt like there was a little bit of technical stuff that was going on, and granted, I was playing it early on, and I think like everybody's kind of said like a slow burn, and you're gonna start hearing that conversation again too about this game. The game doesn't start getting good until like the 11th hour,
Yeah, as I reviewed this game, I gave it a 7, and I said even with the bugs or without the bugs, it would still be a 7. Like, if that makes sense. Like, the game was buggy.
Do you think that any of the stuff that they showed, like if you had to review again, is there anything that they're showing in here possibly of upgrading it a little bit and the 3D audio and stuff like that would make it like an 8?
No.
Okay.
No, this game is a 7. Like,
okay.
I stand by that score. Like, bugs and all, it was a 7. Cleaned up, it was a 7 because I don't feel like the story or anything really elevated it above that. But there's nothing wrong with a 7 if you're talking about a 10-point scale. So this is one of those games where it's like, I'll give them $10 to replay this on PS5 just to get like better visuals and just to give the game a second chance, because I did play it when it was pretty buggy, like pre-launch, and there were issues like with cutscenes and some audio stuff that in theory should be fixed around here. Because gameplay was never a problem with Days Gone. Gameplay was always pretty fun, except for like
PS4 and PC version can upgrade for $10 too. Interesting.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. This is something that like gameplay wise was always pretty good. The only thing that kind of sucked is like the motorcycle element of like upgrading your bike and all that stuff. That stuff was kind of a neat idea, but then like 30 hours into the game, you're just like, dear God, I'm tired of like having to take care of this bike or upgrading. I'm interested in this is still baffling because PlayStation has been so like, Days Gone was a failure, we're never doing a sequel, and then here we are, and they're remastering it, which means this will probably make the franchise past the 10 million copies sold threshold. To where if it does that, if you're Ben Studio who had your sequel rejected, you're probably asking PlayStation again, like, are you sure you don't want us to do a sequel? We can probably finish it faster than the 8 years it took us to develop the first one. I don't know what you do for a sequel for this game, but at a certain point, like, if you're Ben Studio, you have to have some feelings about this being made. I know it's probably made by Ben Studios, the remaster, but like it's just a baffling thing to do. The Reddit was already going nuts because like there's a lot of people that have been championing this franchise or this game. It's not a franchise because there's only one of them, but people were championing this for a sequel that never happened. And now that it's being remastered, there's a lot of confusion about like, hey, this sold 9 million copies. You said that was a failure. But here we are coming into the remastered territory, which either means you're bankrupt of ideas or you're trying to admit that like Days Gone actually does have potential.
Right. Or trying to see if there's any spark there. Then you're going to greenlight it later. It's going to take 10 years for it to come out.
Yeah, that's another... man... But like, hey, you know, the creative director and I think writers for Days Gone left Bend years ago, and they burned bridges because of how Days Gone was treated and Bend Studio was treated. So it's like, what is the sequel to this game if some of the creative people aren't there anymore?
Mm-hmm.
Right. Okay. Then we got that. Do you have anything to say about Days Gone after that?
Nope.
Okay. We got Tides of Annihilation, which is like a action adventure game that looked really, really beautiful. Very like trippy visuals. Players take on the role of Gwendolyn and will be able to call in the Knights of the Round Table to help her in combat. This game looked really cool. This was like one of the nice little surprises. I didn't know if this game existed as an announcement or like if this was announced previously, but this was the first I've seen of it. But this looked pretty fucking cool and was like one of those nice little surprises. One of those things that I will put on a list later of just like, hey, keep an eye on this game.
Mm-hmm.
After that, we had more Onimusha stuff. We got 2 Randys pitching Borderlands 4. That's coming out September 23rd, and there's going to be a special state of play for it. Dave, I feel like Borderlands has been one of those franchises that I think you've enjoyed more.
Yeah, it's just and maybe the state of play that they're getting themselves is going to impress me, but like it just looks more of the same of 2 and 3.
Yeah, the one thing that they need to show, but they didn't show in this thing, is has the writing got better? There has been a lot of talk from like I think one of the writers or directors on Twitter that like, hey, we realize that we fucked up with the humor in the last game, and we're doing our best not to fall down that same path. But I feel like Borderlands players haven't really been complaining about gameplay being an issue. They've complained about like storytelling and humor being an issue. So I hope they can show that in the state of play. And hopefully Randy Pitchford isn't there, because he's another one of those like heads of studios that when he's presenting something, I want to check out immediately, because he just kind of gives me the ick, and I don't know why, other than the fact that he's a magician. But and a literal magician too. That's not a metaphor for anything weird. But yeah, I feel like they've been trying to nail the trailer for the first game. Like they've been trying to like recreate that magic that they had with the Caged Elephant song, you know, with like catchy song that like immediately sets you in a mood for the franchise or the game. And they've been trying to hit that, and they tried to maybe do something like that, a little bit like that, but it was just like, hey, here's the gameplay. And I don't think that was enough for it. Then we got Metal Gear Solid Delta trailer. Release date confirmed August 28th. And that's pretty much the last announcement that we got, other than Saros, which we had talked about at the beginning of this event. Dave, a lot of release dates. I think we have a game coming out, 1 or 2 games coming out per month till October so far. And I think that's going to be a trend from here on out in terms of October, November, December is probably going to be owned by Grand Theft Auto, and people are just hoping Rockstar doesn't drop it before that window. But Dave, how did you feel about the state of play?
I was, super intrigued by it. Like there was did you talk about Tides of Annihilation and I missed it? I'm sorry.
Yes, yeah, I did talk about it.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I was distracted by something. That looked like super interesting to me. And then a couple of the little, the other, like the puzzle game that they showed off, like it was a small thing. I know you didn't catch everything, but there was like
the squid one.
It was more like the multiple mansion one, like mystery mansion thing. It was full of some of the weird stuff, like the Darwin's paradox thing for Dave the Diver. There was the typical little weird stuff in here, but there was some uniqueness in here, and I felt like to your point, we didn't talk about it, but the Five Nights at Freddy, the Secret of Mimic, the Dreams of Another. There's a good variety.
Was the game.
Yeah, there's a good variety in there. I know you like the Yakuza stuff. I'm kind of tired of seeing the Yakuza stuff at everything.
It's been a lot. There's been a lot
of
Yakuza stuff.
you know,
like
the Metal Gear Solid thing, you know, like there was a lot of you know, multiple genres shown and supported. There was rumors that I didn't think they were true, but there was rumors we were going to hear, you know, Project Gummy Bears that was Bungie's that Sony took away. Like, if Sony took it away from them to do it themselves, they're not going to show it 2 months later.
Can I interrupt you for a second?
Yeah.
You worried no Marathon for a while?
No, because what do you mean for a while? Like, what are you hearing?
No, I'm just saying I feel like Marathon would have probably been one of those games you kind of put here if it's still coming out this year. Because that's not a holiday game. Like,
yeah, no, and here's the deal. Like with this, depending, it really, like, this is where I still feel like that maybe Holtz doesn't have control of Bungie like we think he does, because I think that Bungie's going to really reveal their Marathon information on their own end.
You know, so about the Holtz thing, I think Holtz does have the control, but he's still letting Bungie do Bungie. I think contractually he has control, but he still knows, like, if I strong arm Bungie into creative decisions, is that really going to do anything?
Right.
But now just like you brought up, you know, just like you're doing a Borderlands State of Play announcement, but you're not doing a Ghost announcement. I feel like you could have been like, hey, Marathon announcement, or just an update from Bungie, period. I don't know if they still employ any faces of the company that could have just popped on for a second and been like, hey, Bungie live letter in 2 weeks or something.
Right.
Just so we know they're still alive and, you know, PlayStation still cares about them. I know Bungie's still alive, but you got to still kind of be like, hey, we're still partners.
Yeah.
We don't have bad blood because of all the layoffs and hostile takeover sort of stuff. It just seems odd that we didn't get anything from Marathon. I'm starting to think Marathon's a 2026 game. Like, I don't think that's actually making it out this year.
Yeah, it's hard. We'll have to see, because I mean, full disclosure, like, so Bungie released their 3rd episode this week. They went away from the 4 seasons a year for their Destiny content, and they did the 3 episodes, which were 4-month things. And Hearsay, you know, Destiny 2 Hearsay came out. And like, we're getting to the point of where, like, this is the final thing, the final year of the Light and Darkness saga, with Final Shape killing the big bad that we were, all that stuff. And now we're in February. So, you know, we have 5 months that this episode is supposed to last. We have no information about Frontiers. We don't have the date of Frontiers. We don't have the cost of Frontiers. We don't have, you know, we have a vague idea of what's coming in it, but typically, like, you had a 6 or 7 month lead where Bungie was like, oh, pre-order this and get this cool thing and do this and work on this stuff. And it's super interesting just to see, now, is this Sony? Is this Bungie? Like, that, you know, like we're saying, what kind of shouting match is happening across these tables in Seattle? Like, and it's super, super interesting just to see. Like, and I'm, you know, everybody knows I'm a Destiny fan, but like, we're getting close to my 90-day window where you got to tell me something. Like, yeah. So, and, you know, at the same time, like, I'm with you. Like, I can't see an extraction shooter being their October and November marketing. Like, throwing an extraction shooter on Sunday Night Football to be like, oh, you know, come buy our console and our game for Marathon. Like, that's not the market. That's not the holiday market you're going after. You're going after a certain fan. And to your point, this needs to come out in June or July if you're going after that fan to hold their attention. So now the same thing. Are you going to release Marathon and Destiny 2 Frontiers in the same quarter?
Yeah. Like, if you're PlayStation, you're like, yeah, we don't give a shit about Destiny.
Right.
But if you're a Bungie, you're like, that's the same audience. Please don't do this to us. Because that could backfire on them. Yeah, I just think it's weird that Bungie just wasn't there at all, even if it was just like, hey, we're doing something soon, or like, hey, for more info on Destiny. Though I feel like we're at a point where PlayStation doesn't want the word Destiny brought up on any of their streams, because they just really want people to focus on Marathon, if that is going to still be a thing that releases.
Mm-hmm.
PlayStation's still in a weird spot. I would say overall, I think this was still like a good B+, A- of a state of play if I was going to throw a grade on it, in terms of like, hey, there was a good variety of stuff. I love that there's release dates. Will any of the release dates stick? I don't know. I imagine the stuff coming out in the next 3 months, those release dates will be fine. Stuff in the second half of the year, we'll see. But the fact that, just like with Xbox's developer thing, even though it was like on a significantly smaller scale, Xbox at least laid out like, hey, here's the next 4 months of games coming out. And PlayStation was like, all right, here's the next 4 months, and also here's a couple more games sprinkled in for the rest of the year. And you just hope some first party stuff pops up, comes out, and kind of fills in some of those gaps. But in terms of just like, hey, if you need to know as a PlayStation owner what you have to play the next couple months, this was able to fulfill that thing. And also buys them some time, like everyone's now going to be focused on the Nintendo Direct in April. Mm-hmm. PlayStation can go kind of quiet. Borderlands being in September means we're probably not getting that state of play for Borderlands for a couple months now, because it'd be weird if they do it soon. So it's going to be PlayStation going probably radio silent again until we get like a date finalized for Ghost, and a state of play happens. So like I think it was really good in terms of like, hey, here's a bunch of stuff you can play relatively soon, and it was something they desperately needed.
Yep.
Yeah, but that was the state of play, Dave. That was the news, and we went an hour. So
I mean, for me, for the most part, playing, I'm enjoying. I like the nostalgic feeling that Destiny does sometimes. I'm enjoying going back to an area in Destiny that I haven't gone back in 6 or 7 years. For me, it's always been about the loot and the builds, and when they put new fancy stuff in there and little changes to the abilities, and I'm having fun right now. It's the same thing as I'm kind of in the brain neutral mode of my video games. Like that's just kind of how I go, brain neutral. I am, however, did enjoy a little bit of a ribbing of you of like your Bulls played terrible against the Pistons yesterday. Terrible.
Watching Twin Peaks. I've been rewatching Twin Peaks, so I just looked at my phone and saw it was like
72-12 or something like that.
Something like that, yeah.
I had to give you crap
like
about
60
it.
60-20. Oh yeah, no worries. The Bulls are in tank mode. They're trying their best to get a good draft pick, so they can ruin them.
Yeah. For the most part, just kind of packing like the first cruise we've ever gone on. So just kind of getting ready for that. I don't know if what Michael's plans are for next week. I won't be here. I don't have internet on the boat, so.
Yeah, I might be taking a week off. Don't really know yet. Depends on how I feel. Yeah.
But yeah, for the most part, playing and watching has been a little bit limited, as we're just kind of getting ready to go on vacation and to do some stuff, and watching a little bit of stuff here or there, just some random Hulu stuff that's going, just time killers there. Still looking. I had to update my ROG to Windows 11. That wasn't fun. Like Angela had to do that. Like, no, it was just kind of like, oh, I'm like, check for updates. It's like your Windows license has expired. I'm like, huh?
Yep.
and so
my Windows has been getting aggressive too, but I still like 10.
Yeah, but the ROG like just wouldn't. I mean, I guess I could have still ran something on it, but it just was not liking it every time I turn it on or something like that. As I'm trying to get ready to take that with me on the plane and everything. So, still looking into a couple things. I need to. Part of the reason I need to download Avowed, so I have it to see if it'll. I'm just kind of curious if it'll work because Avowed comes out next week. As a single player kind of offline game, I'll be interested in that. But other than that, that's really all I've been playing and watching.
Yeah, for me, it's been rewatching Twin Peaks. They re-released the box set on Blu-ray, so we picked that up and been going through a disc a night, which is like 2 to 3 episodes a night. And then Marvel Rivals is kind of taken over. Feels like the old Overwatch days where I was playing it every day. Just doing my dailies. They give you 3 more monthlies to do, but I usually knock the 3 monthlies they give you out in one night. So I should. There's like 58 days left on the battle pass, and I should have the battle pass complete by next week.
Nice.
Or so, based on how much I've been completing my dailies and all that stuff. Been getting into the dirty game of comp play. Doing pretty well as long as I'm playing by myself and not playing with anyone that I know. Just because I kind of just like to focus on my own thing and not like have many conversations during comp games.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, just been doing that. Mostly have been winning. I just need to get to the point where like, hey, if I win 3 games in a row and I lose a game, maybe I should stop there as opposed to trying my luck and keep going. Because there has been like 1 or 2 nights where I do have like that that off night where it's just like, shit, I just lost 3 games in a row. I should really stop right now. But then I'll follow that up the next day by like winning 5 games in a row or something crazy like that. So still doing that. I need to learn. I'm a shitty healer, so I still haven't found like a healer that I can work with. Because if my main DPS is taken, I have a backup DPS, and then I have a tank that I can play. I am not good at the tank. I'm pretty good at this 2 DPS players. But if tanks are already picked, DPS is already picked, and I have to pick a healer, I almost feel like getting in the chat and being like, please let me play anything other than a healer, because this will not go well for any of you. Because I just don't have the mentality to play a healer. I admire anyone that actively plays healer, because you have a different like mind for the game than I have. Even when I think I'm doing good as a healer, I look at the final stats and I'm like, holy shit, I was trash. So it is definitely one of those things where I need to still find a healer and just not actively seek out to be a healer, but sometimes, hey, I load into the game last and I don't get my pick of heroes. So then I kind of just have to pick whatever the team needs. And if I have to pick a healer, then the team is going to most likely fail. Because I just don't have the head for being a healer.
Okay.
But yeah, doing that, the Human Torch and the Thane come out next week. They have some bullshit thing where if you want to get the wedding dress and tuxedo for Mr. Fantastic and Miss Invisible, you need to do quick play and hope you get paired up with a streamer in order to unlock the outfit, which means now I have to fucking play quick play and hope I get paired with like an obnoxious streamer, which I know is most likely not going to happen, but damn it, I'm still going to try. Just so I can get some costumes for some characters I never play. But that is where I'm at, Dave, where I'm unlocking costumes for characters I don't give a shit about just because I can. But that is pretty much it. I didn't watch the Super Bowl.
It was a freaking blowout. Yeah. It was just Josh will be happy. The Eagles won. That's really about it.
Yeah, but the only problem I have is like Philadelphia fans are the worst fucking humans to ever grace this earth. And I don't care. Even Philly people will admit they are the shittiest fucking sports fans, like the shittiest people.
Yeah, I mean the game itself was kind of meh. The commercials, okay. Like I feel like they've lost their luster the last couple of years, especially with like the YouTube world and the TikTok world. I thought the halftime show was great.
Halftime show was great.
Yeah.
I did see highlights of that. And
I would have preferred that Kendrick Lamar's audio to be a little better, but overall,
he was moving around more than I was expecting him to move around. So I think that he did pretty good for that.
Yeah, but I mean, I thought the message that he was delivering was great. Kudos for him for doing it. And if you don't understand it, then it wasn't meant for you.
Don't worry. Just enjoy the show.
Yeah. So there's some things I had to clarify for myself. So, but overall, it was, I just thought it was really good. The brain neutral thing for me really quick is just like the current events of the world. I just don't want to pay attention to. So it's like, I just drawn like
hard to avoid too.
Yeah. It's just, I'm trying, like I'm genuinely trying. And that's when I just bury my head in the video games. So, like, yeah, there's just a lot of things going on. So I'm ready to, I think we have a Wi-Fi package for one device. So I'm actually like really, really ready to disconnect myself for like 7 days for the most part. I know our phones will work in like Honduras when like we're at the Mayan ruins and stuff like that. Like, so I might have to just like, make sure like my kids are alive and well, like after a couple, 2 or 3 days of not communicating with them. Or
But after you say, are you alive and well?
Yeah.
They do not tell you about world events or anything after that.
So,
because they can say the craziest shit, Dave, and it could be true because we are in the world where
yeah. I mean, I'm going to be taking my first voyage on the Gulf of America. So let's go.
Good for you, Dave. I hope like when you're over it, you salute it and a single tear drops down your eye.
I couldn't resist that one. I'm sorry.
Yeah, you're just like, this is what they fought for on January 6th.
Oh, Jesus. You said that. I didn't.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, like, I'm sure keep an eye on social media. I'm sure Michael will update whatever his plans are. I thought, like, I gave enough leeway to poke Mr. Langford, but obviously I don't think he's listening. So,
yeah. And I've been meaning to reach out to people.
No, you're good. You're good. I'm just giving it. I'm just, Josh will hear this in like March.
Mm-hmm.
So, but other than that, I just, I hope everyone has, if you're in the Midwest, like, you survive this cold snap and this snowstorm that's coming through, and then other than that, like, anything else that's going on, just, I hope that we're somewhat of a viable distraction for you to disconnect from your reality for a little while. So, you can follow us on social media at Digital Days Pod. You can follow Michael at The First MJC. You can follow myself at Good Dave Hunt. Join join the Facebook group and the Discord servers. That's where a lot of that conversation is. And then if you really want to support us, we have a Patreon as well, patreon.com/digitaldaysgaming. But overall, like, just tell your friends about the show, share the show on social media if you can in any way, shape, or form, and we appreciate it. I hope everyone has a great week or two, and keep moving forward.
Don't be a dick. See ya. I almost got distracted because I'm just like, what the fuck is this tab on Twitch that says whispers? And I'm just like, oh, I've never read any of these.
Oh, geez, who sends you whispers?
And it looks like it's all spam.
Oh, okay.
A couple of them look like they're like PSN codes, which are probably fake.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know. They all look like spam because I don't actually have friends on Twitch.
All right, those of you that are watching the live stream, appreciate you hanging out. Have a great night.